everyone! On episode 9 of G.A.S Attacks, I discussed the process of using the Synergy SYN-2 preamp with the Fractal Audio System FM3. How the heck do you set it up and get it working? Let's find out. When I recently decided to pair my Synergy SYN-2 rack mount dual module dock, that's a mouthful, loaded with a Slow 2 and a Pitbull Ultra Lead module, with my FM3 and the 4 cable method, I noticed that there's not a ton of documentation out there on how to set it all up. Next month's G.A.S Attack will focus on the sound clips and my opinion of the equipment, but this month's episode is all about the how. So, to start with, read the FM3 manual, especially page 38, detailing how to connect the SYN-2 and the FM3 together. Make sure you have all your I/O settings set as follows.
Go to Setup and go to I/O. Make sure that input source 1 is set to analog, that its boost is set to 0, input 2 mode is set to left only, input 2 pad is set to 0, output 1 configuration is set to sum left right, output 1 level is set to +4 dB, and output 2 level is set to unity gain, sum left right for mode.
For this particular setup, I found using a humbuster cable between the output 2 left to the SYN-2 input was not necessary. There was no change between using a humbuster cable and a standard TS cable. What is necessary, for sure, is to use a female XLR to male TS patch cable, not a TRS. When I was testing the system before mounting it in this rack, I used the correct XLR to TS cable, but I used a shorter cable for the actual install, which was a TRS, and I spent hours chasing my tail trying to figure out why the post preamp effects were not audible.
Next, the SYN-2 effects loop level needs to be set. The only setting for the loop is high or low. For my situation, I found that setting the loop to low worked much better. High caused the FM3 to clip on input and output 2. The Synergy manual does not clearly detail whether or not it is a series loop, but I believe it to be a series loop.
Okay, now everything is connected correctly. We should be good to go, right? Wrong. At this point, I had two major issues. One, there was a horrible buzz coming out of the speakers that changing the boost pad in the FM3 and using a humbuster cable did not resolve at all. And two, any of the post effects when activated caused a large volume drop. Either of these issues could be a deal breaker for this setup, so now I will dive into how I resolve them. The buzz, well, it can be frustrating to figure it out, but in this setup I can almost guarantee you what it is. You might think it's the FM3 connection to the SYN-2, I sure did, but it's not. It is the main outputs of the SYN-2 to, in my case, the Fractal LX2 power amp. What to do? Well, users have reported using the Morley hum eliminator. I happen to have a radial StageBug SB6 and that worked like a champ too. I have seen posts where users recommend using a ground lift on the power amp itself, but I'd never suggest ever doing that. So issue 1 fixed, right on. How about that pesky volume drop? Well, this one was a harder nut for me to crack. Well, my interweb forums came up empty, and changing the master volumes for out 1 or 2 on the FM3 was of no help, because the volume dropped only when an effect was put in line post preamp. Changing the overall volume did not address the volume drop when the effect is engaged. After putting on the thinking cap for a minute, I did two things. First, I made sure that any of the effects that were post preamp had their mix set at 100%. 2, I adjusted the output 1 volume by ear to match the effect being engaged and bypassed. Once these two issues were addressed, this setup is pretty killer. The FM3 controls the SYN-2 via its MIDI block, allowing me to change the preamp channels and add effects with the push of a single button on the FC12. Here are some quick examples of how this setup sounds through my Marshall JCM 900 1960 cab with Eminence DV77s and Celestion V30s. going through a Lewitt microphone. That wraps up how I set up the Synergy SYN-2 with the Fractal FM3. Next month's G.A.S attacks will focus on the why of this setup. Until next time, if you like this content, please like it and consider subscribing to my channel. Every month I have a new G.A.S attack segment where I talk about gear that I used my own money to buy and whether I feel it was worth it or not. My channel has other videos with riff playthroughs, cool things that aren't necessarily music related, and every month there's a new video for an original song, and once a quarter in 2025, a video for a cover song. Thank you so much for checking out my video.